Hello, guys. Welcome to Global Happenings. Today we have a trending news here for you. And the news headline reads: Renowned Igbo politician warns federal government over the indigenous people of. See details. But before we go ahead with details of the news, we'd like to encourage you to please subscribe to the channel by clicking on the red subscribe button and also on the bell icon so that you can get notification anytime we publish videos on YouTube.
All right. The ex-governor of Imo State, Chief Ohakim, has advised the federal government not to make the same mistakes the British made on Northern Ireland with the agitation of the Indigenous people of Biafra (IPOB) for independence, saying it is never wise to gain by battle what should be gained through bloodless negotiation. This is as he advised that the people revoke the country's articles of association to unleash the people's potentials. Ohakim, the former governor of Imo State, who stated this as the guest lecturer of the University of Ibadan Alumni Association, that's the Imo State branch chapter, 2019 public service lecture titled Nigeria, the Leadership Question, admonished the federal government to avoid the mistakes made by the British over the agitation of the people of Northern Ireland to have their own nation, but that the government of UK, instead of negotiating with the agitators, engaged them in a battle, in a war which it could not win for 20 years. His words: because of its security implications, all I would like to say here is to advise our present political leadership to avoid the same mistakes the British made in Northern Ireland. In Northern Ireland, the British made an avoidable mistake. They fell into the trap of believing that because they have power, soldiers, weapons, experience that dwarfed those of the insurgents, it did not matter what the people thought of them. History tells us that Britain couldn't defeat Northern Ireland insurgents for more than 20 years. Peace negotiation did the magic. For example, President Yaradua, the late Yaradua, heeded the advice and succeeded with the Niger Delta militant an amnesty program. He also noted that the nation has become a disaster and as such cannot be administered from Abuja any longer. He said our nation, Nigeria, has become a patient that is in intensive care unit, that is very sick in the body. It is not too late to continue to give her tablets of aspirin and laxative. I think anything that's short of complete treatment is an excuse in futility. He said, I strongly believe that we cannot develop Nigeria from Abuja anymore. Abuja, the behemoth called the federal government, is becoming a disincentive for the development of this country, Ohakim said.
All right, thank you very much. So much respect to the former governor of Imo State for that wonderful advice that he has accorded the federal government. It's obvious that, or it's important to note that whatever thing you're trying to do against your fellow man, try to think about the future. You know, it might look as if you don't need the person now. It might seem that there will not be any form of relationship subsisting between the two parties in the nearest future. And with all of that, you may want to fight against the person with all that you've got. But then it's wise to learn from other nations of the world, other nations of the world, how they all, strive and all of that. One of the most significant thing about the indigenous people of Biafra, let's just try to be real here, is that these guys, they've got human resources. Apart from having human resources, they have knowledge of business, they have knowledge of investment, they have knowledge of creating things. And the truth remains that we need them. Even if the secession takes place now, at the end of the day, you realize that at one point, it may not be immediately, maybe in the nearest 20 years, if what they're striving to get, become successful, in the nearest future, we will still need to collaborate with these people. We still need to go into a bilateral relationship with these people to get certain things done, which will be to the betterment of the people in the two countries, and even for the betterment of Africa, and even for the betterment of the whole world. So we shouldn't try to just think about the noun, for the fact that talking about the noun is trying to see how by your attitude or by your policy or by your strength, you're trying to see how you can wipe them off, how you can tag them all manner of names, because these things will stay stuck in their brain if they have successfully opted out of Nigeria. So what Ohakim is trying to say is overly important. These are some of the things that must be taken into consideration. I can still remember when this guy came up, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu came up and was talking about, he was trying to stop his people from getting involved in the act of, killing, the act of fighting, the act of carrying weaponries and all of that, because to him, we've gone past that level. And that was the same thing that happened between, the British and the North Ireland. They came to a point whereby they noticed that we will only end up destroying life and destroying the relationship we're going to have in the future. Let's come together and settle at a point about certain things, and let's see how we can reach an agreement. But trying to use your strength and your might, your military might, to see how you can, face off a particular people so that what they have been striving for cannot stand. It's one thing that will make us have terrible relationship in the nearest future if they succeed to secede. Don't forget that this thing has been there for many years. It's, for example, getting married to a woman. In the first 3 years of the marriage, she's telling you that she wants to opt out of it. And you wait for the next 15 years. You guys are still, on, off. The next 15 years, he's still telling you, I want to leave the marriage. Children are all grown. He's still telling you, I want to leave the marriage. At the point, you let her go so that peace can, be restored to your life and to her life. Let her go and live her life, and you live your life so that tomorrow in the future, if you guys see yourself, you can still greet yourself. You understand? And there had been this opinion around town that if the memorandum is held, that greater number of Igbos will, vote against their independency, that they will say, no, we don't need them, all of that. Why not put all of that, into test, and let's see if truly, if not for anything, maybe go into an online vote, and, from there we can determine if these guys are really wanting to opt out, because it's been on for many years, and this hatred is not helping matters. This hatred is not making things work well. I love another point that he raised about the issue of centralization, power centralization. It's really affecting the country. Let's be so real. It's really, looking at the presidency right now, he's got a lot of things to do. If you look at the presidency, if you want to be true to your word, the presidency has so much to do. And I realize that it's taking turn on the man, and things are not really working right. And it's making those who are working with him, who we never elected into position of leadership, I'm talking about the cabals, is making them to be stronger, because they realize that this man is stuck with so much work. He has to make decision in respect to this. He has to make decision in respect to, he has to make decision. He has to be in the federal executive meeting. He needs to travel out and represent the interests of the country outside. He needs to do this and that. So whenever it seems that the work is too much for him, these cabals now step in and begin to make decision, which is in future, you realize that it is detrimental to the nation. So if we decentralize power, if we now start saying that each of the states should be able to host a lot of things, they should be able to fix a lot of things by themselves. They should be able to make decisions by themselves and stand by it. They should be able to get into investment stuff by themselves and all of that. And that is not what taking power away from the central back to the different regions, the different states and all of that. It will help Nigeria a great deal. And guess what? There is no country in the world that practices true federalism that you won't see massive changes, if not in all the states, but at least for some of those states who are so focused, who have a dream, who have elected governors, who have greater dreams. Before you know, at the snap of the finger, there is a total turnaround, a rejuvenation of the whole state. by virtue of ideas that are going to bring. But unfortunately, this is not happening, and it's really affecting the nation. Too much pressure is already on the central. Look at right now, because some of them, they know that by the time they get into power, they'll be able to influence a lot of things. You see, we have not even gotten to 2023. People are really, fighting. People are really struggling. They want to be in power. We're in 2020, we go into 2020, and people are already talking about presidency come 2023, just because of what? Power centralization. If it is being decentralized, you won't be seeing all of that. So I think this must be looking to what this guy is saying. Ohakim, the former governor of Imo State, he said is very paramount. Each of it should be looked upon seriously. All right, my colleague have something to say.
Well, let's start from what the writer wrote, that Ohakim said. He made mention of the late Yar'Adua, the former president of Nigeria. He said something quite unique. He said during the time of militants in Niger Delta, there was so much unrest in that period. What Yar'Adua, the late Yar'Adua, did not do, and which brought peace, immense peace to the land, just fairly recently started again, really, brought immense peace to the land, was he brought out the key players and said, please, what do you have us do? What is the problem? They opened up and they mentioned their problems. They said, this is their problems. Okay, fine. Let's start with amnesty. He created amnesty where, look, we are going to be paying you some certain amount of money. Drop your guns. He didn't prescribe them. He didn't call them a terrorist group. Yeah. That would have worsened the situation. But instead, he said, look, the reason why people are doing what they did, something is wrong. You're not happy with something. Let's dialogue. And that's why even the present government are still enjoying the Niger Deltans. Because if they had made the mistake of prescribing Niger Delta militants, then honestly, by now, we wouldn't have had oil that we are producing to even say want to sell out, because they will bomb the whole pipeline. But, they had that negotiation, which is what is almost lacking in this dispensation. Now, the Igbos have come that they want to secede. It's not about that. The question is, you need to find out what is it that is causing them that want to secede. What is their challenge? I would have expected that they should do some sort of dialogue. So what's the issue? What are we not doing right? Do we need to centralize? Find out their challenges and see how you can meet them halfway, if not even meeting them all, to show that you're listening. But instead, the first thing that easily came to the federal government was to quickly prescribe them. They prescribed them within a month. What am I saying? Probably within 48 hours. And Boko Haram, what's the name again? Fulani herdsmen have been doing much. In fact, Fulani, without them being prescribed, everybody in the world knows that Fulani herdsmen are almost terrorists. Wherever they go, they have mayhem going, trolling everywhere they go. But up to now, as we speak, Fulani herdsmen have not been prescribed. You just see the level of the game is not well played, and you see them, much more is coming out. But there's something I want to really say. A broken spirit cannot be mended. If you watch the indigenous people of Biafra and the way they seem, the more you seem to talk to them, the more you seem to talk against them, the more you seem to, make them feel as if the more they are even getting stronger, the more they're feeling, look, we are marginalized. If it is Biafra or never, try to find out from them. Okay, let's give it 2023. The next thing you hear is no. All we want is Biafra nation. Because the more you are trying to talk down on them, the more their spirit is reawakening. It's not even in the case of, look, when you start thinking of fighting a war, a lot of things are lost. Lives are lost. Properties are lost. Space, time are lost. A lot of things are going to go bad. And that's why peaceful negotiation is always the best. Because this same set of people you're talking about, whether you like it or not, they're not useless. They got, like the other time I was watching a video of a little boy, a secondary school boy, who, I don't know, he got some parts here and there and produced a generator. I saw it run with electricity. Secondary school boy from Igbo extract. And that's to tell you that there's no particular tribe that has monopoly of creativity. Igbos too can have. Don't
They have already.
That's what I'm saying. So don't look at them as if that all they ever think of is to secede. Why don't look at what they have and think of how to harness it? If you can't, if they say they still don't want to be in the country, then a referendum should be in place. Negotiation is good. And the issue of business, everybody knows that when it comes to business, if an Igbo man is not there, don't go there. That means that place is not viable. We have tagged them one of the greatest businessmen around town. We all know that. Even this issue of soft talk was an Igbo man that produced it. So what are we talking about? They have their strengths. I expect them that the government should look at the strength and harness the strength. But my fear now is not just that. My fear now is now that the former governor of Imo State, Ohakim, have said this. I hope that DSS or EFCC will not come for him.
All right. All right, that's where we're going to leave it. But it's something that is worth giving ears to, because this will help to correct certain things that we have been seeing. And I also believe that, just like my colleague has said, the government needs to come together, create a kind of a team of negotiators who will have a one-on-one talk, not to victimize them. One-on-one talk with these guys. Let's reach a consensus about this. Let the people realize that, hey, the government wants to talk with us. Let us put our distinct terms and conditions on the table and see how a lot of things can be fixed. I think also this idea of his can also be used for the Fulani headsmen and the farmers. If the farmers are saying we do not want these guys, no need to force it, because if you are soliciting for one Nigeria, a stronger nation, I think it's high time we let go of all this issue of ethnicity, and religious sentiment. Put it aside and let's see how we can take the nation to a higher level, whereby our own, style of governance will be felt, not just by Nigerians, but it will be widespread out there and people will give kudos to us. All right, that's where we're going to leave it. Go to our comment section. Let us interact. What do you think about what Ohakim has said? The advice and the warning he has given to federal government. Did you think that if they abide, it can salvage the situation that we're currently seeing